Just over a week until the trade deadline, general managers around the league start to think, hey, if we're going to trade this guy, maybe we should sit him out so he doesn't get hurt. Could the Bruins be caught paying the price for not thinking of that in time, CJ?
Well, they don't feel as though they're going to be caught paying the price, but certainly it can't be spun as a good thing that Trent Frederic left Tuesday's game against Toronto with a lower body injury and is now considered week to week. Frederic was seen in a walking boot on this day, and so it doesn't necessarily change the fact that the pending UFA could be moved ahead of the deadline. Certainly, we've seen that with players in the past, but it does underline why teams might be starting to hold guys out for the famous trade related reasons, because obviously you want to protect your assets. In this case, just the nature of the sport, these injuries go down. But Frederic is someone that was in, certainly a number of teams have kept an eye on him, does a lot of things in the bottom six that I think contenders are looking for. He hits, he fights, he plays the game the hard way. And, it doesn't sound like this is an overly serious injury, but it's certainly an inopportune time for a player that the Bruins may be engaging in those kind of conversations on to exit their lineup.
Difficult situation involving the Washington Capitals' Ethan Bear right now, CJ. He hasn't played at the NHL level since last March when he went into the NHLPA Player Assistance Program. What are the Caps' plans for him moving forward?
Well, Ethan Bear's had a very strong year down with the Hershey Bears, again, a top team in the American Hockey League. And, at this point in time, it does sound as though they're willing to explore a trade for Bear. A couple things have happened this year. Washington has been very healthy on its blue line, and the fact remains that they have players above him in depth roles, blocking him essentially from a spot towards the NHL. But Bear is in the last year of his existing contract. Obviously, would love to work his way back to an NHL team. And, it does sound as though Washington is willing to accommodate, trying to find him a place to play for the remainder of this season, and obviously put him in a position to earn that next deal. But, someone who's got a pretty extensive experience in the past. And as I say, someone who has performed quite well for a top AHL team, but has been blocked to the NHL roster because the Capitals have been that good this year.
NHL general managers have got a pretty full plate right now, even though they've got guys who are pending unrestricted free agents. John Tavares fits into that category. Brad Treliving's real busy trying to figure out how to, tinker with his roster before the deadline. But at the same time, Tavares is wondering, what's my future here? Is there any progress? Is there any talk going on there right now? Or is this all just being put on hold until after the deadline?
Well, we'll have to see what goes on. I mean, there's still 8 days, right? But at this point in time, the sense is that kind of extension is likely not in the offing here in the short term. I do believe there's been a fair amount of dialogue throughout the season in terms of both sides understanding where they're at. But, the Leafs, as you mentioned, have a lot of different balls in the air. I think that they're content to kind of let things play out. And they know that John Tavares wants to be a long-term member of their team, that he wants to remain in Toronto. And I think, all those things can still then be worked out in the future. But, right now it doesn't appear or sound as though that is a front burner priority. And so it wouldn't be surprising to me to see him remain without a contract for next season beyond this deadline.
All right, a couple of stories CJ and the Insiders are working on right now. The full version of Insider Trading with CJ, Pierre, and Dregs is coming up on the early edition of SportsCenter.